Welcome to GPro Mentoring. I'm your host, Teiko Bailey, and today we have with us Dr. Darrell Bock, who will be sharing on cultural engagement. Dr. Bock, please tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I'm Executive Director for Cultural Engagement at the Hendricks Center at Dallas Theological Seminary. The center exists to shape compassionate, courageous leaders, and we do that by hopefully training them to respond with Christian wisdom in every situation in which they find themselves. And so we do a lot of mentoring, a lot of podcasting, a lot of resource development to help people with a variety of situations in which they might find themselves, think biblically about how to get through those places and spaces.
Thank you, Dr. Bock. What are some of your convictions or experiences that you might say led you to your current area of work?
Well, I taught as I'm in my 37th year at the seminary. About the first 20 years, I was teaching a lot of New Testament, doing a lot of technical New Testament work, and occasionally doing interviews on the outside about how Christianity applies to culture. And then with the millennial shift, around the year 2000, etc., I got very involved in doing interviews related to historical Jesus questions, apologetics, that kind of thing. And all of a sudden, it became clear to me that there were whole areas of life that the church generally was not addressing and getting access to in the public square. And yet the public square is where a lot of things were happening. So it became important to think about how to address and represent Christ better in the public square, with issues that people in the public square cared about, and also with perspectives from a Christian angle that people needed to hear. And so the more I did it, the more I was asked to do it. And the more I was asked to do it, the more I was doing it, the less time I had for the classroom. And eventually we just said, okay, God's doing something here. I need to switch emphases. So I'm also senior research professor of New Testament studies here. But I only teach one class a semester because the bulk of my time is dealing with these kinds of situations and producing podcasts and addressing these kinds of issues.
What would be one experience that might have stood out to you the most over the years that sort of challenged you as you served in this role? Well,
I got asked to write a book on the Da Vinci Code. And I was asked to write it as quickly as possible. I wrote it in a week, and a full book. And because I had it all in my head, when I was asked, I had already contemplating writing this book. And I wrote it in a week. It sold hundreds of thousands of copies, led to all kinds of interviews and all kinds of involvement. And what it did is it showed me this space is really an important space to have people who can speak into it well. And so that's what we attempted to do. And the church was responsive as well as secular people on the outside. So I walked into the space, occupied it, ministered there, and I've never left.